I didn't think I deserved anything because of the position I was in life and how I was living. And I started making myself feel worth something, because it wasn't other people who thought I wasn't worth something or didn't deserve good things in life. It was me.
I'll have what she's having.
Welcome to another edition of
She Talks Confidence
Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the She Talks Confidence Podcast. This is Tony, your host as usual. This is real women, real stories about confidence. And this week is fantastic as usual. It is Shana Epps. Shana, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. You have quite an origin story getting to where you are at now. You are a mother of three. You are a certified peer recovery support specialist. You deal with addiction. You had a history of your own addiction. You have battled through that. Now you're helping others. So I'd like for you to start off today talking about the confidence issues you had in growing up, or maybe in going through your addiction issues, and then maybe round out at the end the two really most important cornerstone values or things that you find are the most important in terms of establishing a solid, confident base and moving forward.
My story kind of starts out with when I was younger, of course. I was super shy. I was always worried about what people thought of me, if people were looking at me. I'm half black, half white. I live in a very small town, and at the time I was one of the only black females around here. So I had a lot of self-esteem issues as far as just nobody really looked like me. And my dad and his family are from downstate Michigan, so Detroit area, and his family was all black women and men, and I really didn't fit in there either. I had super curly fuzzy hair, I was a different color, and I would look at other girls and I would be like, I just want to look like that. And I started to be very shy. Like, I wouldn't want to talk in front of people. I also was bigger than other people my age, and I wasn't chunky or what you would consider fat, if that's the word, but I was just built different. I was much taller, I was thicker, I was curvy, even in like 7th, 8th grade. It didn't feel good to me. I wanted to be skinny like everyone else, and I had a really hard time in school as far as understanding what the teachers were saying, what was going on. Everything seemed really foreign to me, and if a teacher called on me, it was over, because all I was thinking in my head was, I don't want to speak out loud, so I was not thinking about what the answer was at all. I just was always in fear of how people were looking at me or perceiving me, and I've gotten a lot of trouble because of that. Like, my parents wanted me to get good grades, and I would act out just so I could get out of the classroom. Back then they used to put you in the hallway, but I was like, thank you, bye. And I'll just take the punishment. I ended up having to go to this counselor, and she was actually a psychiatrist. She did some hypnosis, and she ended up telling my parents that she thought that I had ADD. Back then, this was a long time ago, ADD medication wasn't well known like it is now. People know it's controlled. I just got my medication and kept it with me all the time, and I quickly realized that it made me super smart. I was able to read all the books. I was up all the time. I was really energized. I was able to retain information, focus, but it was like overkill. So I just had all this energy. I started losing all this weight. I started getting super confident, and I thought it was a magic pill. And if one made me feel good, two would make me feel better. And this really started at around 11, 12 years old. And then when I got to around 13, 14, I started drinking, like on the weekends with my friends. And the medication mixed with the alcohol was even more confidence for me, right? And
Was that Ritalin?
Adderall. I found that I really liked that combination. It was like I could have all this energy, I could have all this confidence, and then alcohol gave me a little bit of relaxed feel and even more confidence. So that was really where it all started. And I'll tell you this, my dad was a warden, my mom was a nurse. My sister had a master's degree. My brother was a doctor. My siblings are like 10 years older than me. So everybody around me was very smart and like doing all these good things, and I was always in trouble. The black sheep. I learned really young that if I wanted to do anything, I was going to have to lie, and that these two things, these two substances, made me feel really good, and without them, I was nothing. Like, that's what I thought. I was in a long-term relationship, and I ended up getting pregnant when I was 16. And her dad was 22, and it was like a big deal. My dad was like heartbroken, and I ended up moving in with my daughter's dad. That was where it all started to go really into the alcoholism, because I was all of a sudden able to drink all the time. I lived with somebody who was of age. He was working construction, so he was gone a lot, and I was at home with the baby, and I would go to school for a few hours, and then I would come home and I would drink. It was a slow progression, just keep a buzz, and then as life went on and I was in these toxic relations, there was a lot of drinking, there was a lot of him going out and coming back not in great shape, but I was at home because I had the baby. Life went on, we ended up breaking up, I ended up being with someone else. I had my second daughter before I was 21, and I was with him for 10 years, and that was an even worse relationship.
Looking back now, and did you see a pattern in terms of relationships and your confidence and self-esteem and the reasons why you attracted these men into your life?
Yeah, definitely. And I can see it now, but I didn't see it then. You hear daddy issues, right? And I'm like, my dad is amazing. He loves me to death. But after really working through it, I did figure out that I was always searching for love that was maybe unconditional, or I didn't feel like if I don't do this right, then you're not going to love me type of deal. And not that's what my dad meant to do, but it felt very dependent on how I acted or how I behaved. And that's not true, but that's just what I perceived. And I was in 3 long-term relationships, and if those people could have been the same people in different bodies, right? I went for the same exact person, and then I would sit there like wounded and drunk and screaming and fighting and all of this. Please stop cheating on me. Please stop doing this. Please stop doing that. And it wasn't ever going to stop. So all of that was going on. It was making me drink more because I was stressed. I was anxious.
Do you have a feeling that you maybe might have subconsciously used that to validate the drinking?
Do I? So yes and no. I think that I didn't know how to feel any kind of emotions, and I didn't really like my reality, and that was my way of escaping all the time. But I will say that I was married to my second daughter's dad for almost 10 years. We were together, and I was bad by the end of that relationship, and I had already been to treatment a few times and things like that. And I finally divorced him, and I was like, okay, I'm moving to Texas. And he was, okay, if you think that's what's going to make you happy. And he signed the custody stuff so I could move out of state. And I got to Texas, and I was still an alcoholic, and I was like, whoa, what is going on? Because even my family was like, if you would just leave him, if you would just leave this relationship, you wouldn't be drinking like this. And I really did believe that in my heart. I believed that I was drinking because I was so stressed or anxious, and this was making me stressed and anxious. I didn't at that time know really what alcoholism, to know that I was drinking for a different reason and probably using many things for excuses.
Everybody hits their moment. Everybody has that nodal event that finally is the straw that breaks the camel's back. What was that for you?
If I'm being completely honest, I ended up having my third daughter with my third baby daddy, right? And we didn't stay together even through the pregnancy, and I drank after that, and things were starting to get very bad. And they ended up sending me to treatment at the end there. And I got out and I drank right away. And I was like, listen, I'm never going to be able to get better. And then my ex-husband, the father of my daughter, passed away suddenly. And I really had this moment because we had been together forever. We were living in different states, and I was packing, I was getting ready to go with my daughter to the funeral, and I realized I'm physically dependent on alcohol. How am I gonna get on a plane? I can't be at the funeral drunk, not to mention everyone I know and haven't seen in years is there. I had seizures from detoxing before, and I was like, I can't do that either. When I detox, I have to go medically. So I ended up not going. I didn't go to the funeral, and I sent my daughter with my dad to the funeral, and I went to rehab again. And that was a huge turning point for me, because it's crazy to even say this out loud, but I always really prided myself on, I'm this single mom and I've been doing it by myself and I'm working and paying the bills and blah, blah, blah. And it's, no, you're a mom, but you're not necessarily present. You're not able to be there for your kids. Your older kids have been taking care of your youngest since she was born, and you're just in bed sick and drunk. And at the worst time in my child's life, I wasn't there for her. Not only to go to the funeral, but not even when she got home, because I was in rehab. That was a huge turning point for me. And I really had been to rehab and been in AA. I had all the knowledge about all these things. Head full of knowledge, belly full of liquor, right? I knew everything, and I could never get sober. I packed up everything in my little car and moved everybody back to Michigan, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but at least I'm gonna be by my parents if something happens to me or I don't get sober, because I don't know what else to do now. I'm on the verge of basically dying. I was not well at all, and I ended up having a friend ask me to go to an AA meeting when I got to Michigan, and I was like, absolutely not. I've been doing that for years. I'm not doing it. And he was like, we can get some food first. And I was like, okay.
Of course.
Yeah, typical woman.
Gotta bait the hook.
Okay, free food, I'm game, because I'm not cooking.
Hey, man, you know, again, for anybody, that's, why not, right? All right, great.
So,
you're gonna comp me a meal, I'm good.
So I went to this meeting, and I ended up meeting someone there, and they were, have you ever tried this medication? I've been working in treatment forever. I've been to treatment millions of times, and I had never tried it. I had tried, I think, Anabuse, and I tried naltrexone, but I had never tried the shot form. And I was like, I guess, why not? So I went to my primary care doctor, and I got the shot, and I have never drank again. It just really was the push that I needed in order to get past the first few months. I had been drinking pretty steadily since I was 13 years old. And I think a lot of it was I just didn't know how to cope without it. And it wasn't really that I had these cravings. I went to treatment once for 6 months and came home and drank. I could have a feeling, whether it was good or bad. Most people think bad feelings. I didn't even like the feeling of being excited. I was like, what is all of this excitement in my chest? Like I had no idea how to deal with any of it. But one thing that I had to look at, and we talked about confidence, and this was a huge thing for me. All the times that I had gotten sober, I would look around at my life and I hated everything about it. I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. My house was trashed. My kids were not behaved because of how they were being raised. Every relationship I had was toxic. Every friendship I had was bad. So I would just drink and go back to sleep. So this time what I did differently, as soon as I was not sick, I started writing down, what is it that you want in life? If you had your perfect dream right now, what would it be? And what is small little steps that you can take to start getting there? And when I tell you that nothing has worked better in my entire life than just doing the next right thing to get to where I want to be, that was what started to build my confidence. I felt like a nobody when I got sober. Like, I'm not worth anything. I don't deserve anything. Why would I find a good relationship or a good man? He wouldn't want to come in this house. It's dirty. It's messy. My kids are so bad. So I didn't think I deserved anything because of the position I was in life and how I was living. And I started making myself feel worth something, because it wasn't other people who thought I wasn't worth something or didn't deserve good things in life. It was me. And when I started doing those next right things, hey, take 10 minutes and clean up as much as you can in your house. After a while, I was already cleaning, so I just kept cleaning. And then I had a clean house. And then I used to look at women and I would be super jealous. Like, why does that girl have a house and a car and a great husband? And instead of doing that, I would just ask people. When I saw a girl who had things that I wanted, a woman who had things that I wanted, I would be like, hey, how did you do that? How did you get a house? I had this friend from high school, and we used to hang out a long time ago together, and she had bad credit. She worked at a bar, and I looked up and she had a house, and I was like, how did you fix your credit? How did you get a house? And I did what she did, and she hooked me up with a lady to help me fix my credit and get a loan, and I have a home now. I really stopped saying, I can't do this, I can't have this, I'm not capable of it. And I started thinking, how do I get it?
It certainly seems like your identity, your self-worth, it was all wrapped up in the addiction. That was your identifier. That was your defining characteristic. Your security blanket, the thing you wrapped yourself up in. Once that was gone, it was almost as though you didn't know who you were, because you had never developed it, because you've been that way since, what, 16 or so, or even earlier. When you went through and you finally got to the point where you hit that free fall, where there really was no sense of self at all, or no definition of self, and you started taking those steps and things started working, or at least you started feeling like you're being productive or feeling like you're going in the right direction, what are the values or the characteristics that you adopted that allowed you to create that confident foundation in moving forward?
One thing that I did, and this was actually part of the 12-step system, and even though AA didn't work for me alone and in the beginning, I still use a lot of AA. But one thing I did during my journey with the 12 steps was figure out, like, what is my spiritual connection? What is my higher power? I was in church a lot when I was young, and I had a baby by the time I was 16. I was going to HELL. That's what my relationship with God was for a long time. And being able to look at that, kind of redefine it and change it was a huge thing, because now I look at my higher power as almost like a father figure. There's these boundaries, these things that you shouldn't do because it's not great for you. Not because I'm going to hate you if you do it, but just like a parent or a friend would be, or there's stop signs in the world, so we don't all crash into each other. That's why you don't have 3 baby daddies, or drink when you're 12, or this is why those things are there. And I started to, again, just doing the right things, really honing in on my family and being there for my family and being a better mom, showing up at their events, doing the things that I was supposed to do, and also demanding more and having boundaries with anyone who entered my life. Just like I think everybody else deserves everything good, I deserve really good too. And before, I thought everybody else deserved great things. I just thought I didn't, because of who I was or what I was doing. And when you're drinking and when you're lost in that, you do a lot of shameful things. Like, I drank during the first part of my 3rd pregnancy, And that haunted me forever, for so long. And being able to get my moral compass back, where there's lines that I have and I won't cross them. When I was drinking, there wasn't a line. I had lots of lines, but I would just cross them because I wanted to drink. Didn't matter what it was. Didn't matter who I hurt. So getting my moral compass back, that was huge.
Jumping up to now, you've got your 3 girls. You're remarried,
Yes.
right? There was something that we talked about prior to the show, and something that you and I completely agree with in terms of a support in your life, and a very huge component of support in your life. And it has to do with the fact that really none of us can do it on our own.
Yes.
And it's insanely important to have a tribe, a support group. Can you talk a little bit about how to create one? Because so many of my clients come in and they say, I have a best friend, but the problem is this. If they're coming into me, or if they're talking to you, what's happening is they're leaving that small bubble of reality that they lived in, that they identified with. And with you and your clients, it's the addictive environment and the people that are around that are actually helping that to continue, because that's their life too. And when you're trying to step out of a reality that doesn't work for you, you're going to leave a lot of people behind.
Yes.
And if you don't have anybody outside of that reality that's there to support you,
Yes.
how do you go about developing a new supportive tribe?
And I think this really applies to anything that you're recovering from, right? It doesn't have to even be substances. It could be like abusive relationships,
Yeah, I agree.
anything like that. Anything when you're trying to grow and the people around you are not growing with you, it makes it really hard. Sometimes people don't even know that they're jealous that you're growing out of everything you guys are doing together. And sometimes they sabotage it for you without even knowing, right? So I'm not even saying that people are bad friends, but what I'm saying is if we're all in this group and I want to move up and get better and do better things, then you're going to be like, wait, no, Shana, sit down, stay by me. You're my friend. We don't even realize that we're doing that. And I've done it to people. Right? But I really think that it's important, and especially now where we have the internet, where we don't have to be friends with somebody because they're our coworker and they're there and that's the only person we have by us. Get online, find people that are interested in the things that you're interested in. I love talking about sobriety. I love fitness stuff. I love like all health and fitness type of things. I love dancing. I can't dance, but I love it. So I'll message people and get to know people that do the little TikTok dances. As far as in person, that can be a little bit harder, but there are groups that get together. Join those communities on Facebook and that are near you. If it is about substances, there's plenty of groups. Some people don't love AA, some people love AA. What I will say about that is every group that you go to is going to be different. So I could hate this AA in this town, and I could go to another town and I could love the vibe that's in that room. We all might need a few different sets of tools, and that applies to everything. So do what works for you. And when you go somewhere, you might not love what some of the people say. Take what you can out of it. Take the people you like, get to know them. You just have to start broadening your horizons and looking outside of the norm. And that can be hard, like especially when you're not in a great place with confidence.
It's really hard. When I talk to clients and they're like, oh, that seems difficult. It's really tough to meet people. I'm like, yeah.
It is.
It is. But if you're going to commit to a new, better, more expanded, more solid foundation type of life, healthier, fulfilling, and step out of the thing that was not working, understanding that's going to be difficult, but not allowing that to deter you from taking the step out, because it will be worth it. It really is the bottom line.
I started telling myself, if I'm not feeling these people, I'll probably never see them again. So what do I care what they think? I moved back to Michigan, and the group that I chose, or that my friend brought me to first, it was a lot of younger people. It was mixed, men and women, a lot of people like 30s, 40s. And that was my friend group for the first year of my sobriety. That's all I did. I didn't go anywhere really with other people. I didn't do anything. And we did kayaking trips together. We did all kinds of things. And it was a relief for me to just not even have to think about, no, I'm not going to drink, and explain to you why. And I ended up meeting my husband there, and it was funny because we talked as friends, and he was, why don't you look people in the eye? Like, why are you talking to me and you look at the ground? And I'm like, leave me alone. I was so awkward. I was so weird. And he would just laugh and be like, it's okay. And I would be, listen, I have no idea what I'm even doing. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Completely
Stripping away everything and being totally vulnerable. You don't have the mask. You don't have the self-medication to numb you down in the reality of that. So thank you, Shana. I really appreciate it. Shana Epps, and she's a certified peer recovery support specialist specializing in addiction. And can you let everybody know where to get a hold of you if they have any questions?
Yes, so all of my social media, TikTok, Instagram, all of that is Controlled Chaos Coaching. I do have a website. It's www.controlledchaoscoaching, and my name is Shana Epps on Facebook. So you can get a hold of me really anywhere, and I'm always open for questions. I have a ton of free resources, mainly a huge women's group, which is so amazing for even people that are questioning possibly stopping alcohol or any substance. Just having people who have done it is amazing.
That's fantastic. And that, I'm assuming that group is online, right?
Yes.
Great.
All of my social media has a link tree in the bio, and you will be able to see in the link tree the free women's group. There's free ebooks. There's everything in there.
Right.
There's so much stuff.
Your book, your ebook,
yes,
and the groups. Thank you, Shana. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your very insightful and personal story. I really appreciate it. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that deal with those inner demons.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially a lot of women. And it's really important, I think, from my experience and my clients and raising my daughter, is that if you hear shared experiences, you tend to start to think, hold on a second, I'm not the only one, and there's a way out.
Absolutely.
So I love that. Thank you, Shana. Really appreciate it. And for me, of course, it's Tony@theconfidencedoc.com. I have a brand new masterclass out, and it's called How to Get Out of a Toxic Relationship. It's a 1-hour video. You can get to it by going to theconfidencedoc.store, S-T-O-R-E, and the link is on there. And along with that, I've got a little bonus thing having to deal with gaslighting, because that's super fun to be in. So it's about the 12 huge biggest signs of gaslighting and what to say if they say those things. So I give you responses, exactly what to say to stop that program and to start to regain control in a relationship, or at least get to the point where you're like, why am I even in this? And get out. Those things are available currently at theconfidencedoc.store, and I hope things are good. And Shana, again, thank you very much, and we'll see you later.
All right, thank you.